Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal. Today's September 6th, and it's the anniversary of a botched abortion that led to a major victory for abortion celebrants, abortion lovers, abortion practitioners, anybody who loves post-viability abortions. This tragedy was a major victory for them. And it involved what everybody could see was a dead baby. So Louise was 20 years old in 1974. She lived in Hopkins, South Carolina, and worked at a commissary on a military base and planned to enroll in technical school. When her period stopped, she went to her hometown doctor's office where a nurse told her that she wasn't pregnant. The nurse was mistaken. This delay in confirming that she was indeed pregnant led her to go to Dr. Jesse Floyd's South Carolina office in July of 1974. Now, believing that she was 12 weeks pregnant, Louise checked in and paid the $175 abortion fee. A nurse checked Louise's vital signs, administered pre-op medication, and an instrument technician brought Louise to the procedure room. There, Floyd examined her for the first time. So, between a woman and her doctor, she had already been counseled. She had already been provided with medical care. She had already paid her fee before she ever laid eyes on the doctor. So Floyd examined her and concluded that she was actually 20 weeks into her pregnancy, not 12 weeks. And he informed Louise that the first trimester abortion technique he'd been planning to use would not work on a 20-week pregnancy, and that because of how far advanced she was in a pregnancy, she'd have to have an abortion in a hospital, and that it would cost $450. Now, Louise didn't have that much money, so Floyd refunded $150 of the $175 that she had paid. A week and a half later, Louise called the clinic to say that she had the $450, and she was admitted to Richland Memorial Hospital on September 3rd. And if Floyd had been accurate in assessing the pregnancy at 20 weeks when he'd seen her, she would have been 25 weeks pregnant, which is on the cusp of viability back in 1974. The next day, September 4th, Floyd injected Louise with prostaglandin to cause an abortion. Now, what a prostaglandin abortion is it causes such violent uterine contractions that they actually injure the baby. So the baby dies of a combination of extreme prematurity and just squeezing damage from these severe contractions. And these contractions can be so severe that they cause the woman's cervix to rip off. So he wasn't exactly being really careful with Louise's life here. So we're going to use Louise's words in a deposition to describe what happened next. On September 6th, Louise said, "I started having real bad labor pains again, and finally my baby was born. I called the nurse. Then about 4 or 5 of them came in the room at the time. The head nurse came in, and at the same time other nurses came in, and she told me, did I know the baby was a 7-month baby? I told her no. One of the nurses said that the baby was alive. They took the baby out of the room. He never did cry. He just made some kind of noise. So the baby was taken down to the nursery. He weighed 2 pounds, 5 ounces. So the first doctor summoned to the abortion ward was a young resident who had been paged from the cafeteria. As she later told the Philadelphia Inquirer, she didn't hesitate. On detecting a heartbeat of 100, she clamped and severed the umbilical cord and had the baby sent to the intensive care unit. It was a shock, a totally unique emergency situation, very upsetting to all of us, the woman said. Some people have disagreed with me about ordering care for the baby, but it seems to me the only way you can go. It's like watching a drowning. You act. You don't have the luxury of calling around and consulting. You institute life-preserving measures first and decide about viability later on. Now, at first, the baby's condition seemed to be improving. By the time he was 10 days old, he was estimated to have a 50% chance of survival. Now, Louise never saw the baby. She checked out on September 8th. She said she kept calling the nurse to get updates about the baby, and they would tell her he was doing fine, but she never did actually go to the hospital to see her baby. They told me he had picked up 2 or 3 pounds. I started going to school, and one afternoon I called them, and they told me the baby had died, but no one told me the cause of his death. And the cause of the baby's death was that he had developed a tear in his small intestine and died from that and other complications on September 26th at the age of just 20 days. Now, prosecutors decided that they had a case here. Although Floyd never had any contact with the baby and he wasn't involved in making decisions about the baby's care, it seemed a foregone conclusion that he started with an abortion that was illegal because of how far advanced this pregnancy was, so he had taken action leading to the baby's death. So he was charged with both murder and criminal abortion. But the abortion rights side won out. Well, first of all, the baby's mother wasn't eager to go to court to testify. Floyd could claim he hadn't even known that the baby had been past viability. And he asserted that under Roe versus Wade and Doe versus Bolton, the state had no business telling the doctor when viability was. If he says the baby's not viable and he's going ahead with an abortion, then the baby's not viable and he's going ahead with the abortion. So Floyd's appeal, he actually sued the state for prosecuting him, and he successfully got the South Carolina abortion law that banned abortions after 24 weeks. So from 25 weeks onward, which was how far along Louise was, you couldn't do abortions, and the requirement at the time that you do them in the hospital. So basically, this baby's tragic death opened the door for any doctor who wanted to just declare at any point in the pregnancy, oh, I don't think it's viable, check her into the hospital, do an abortion, and kill the baby. So the birth of this little boy, although it put Jesse Floyd in a difficult situation, it ultimately made the world a much happier and richer and more profitable place for late abortionists in South Carolina, and probably set a precedent in other states as well.